Hello everyone, it's Stella here.
And Tarrant from Meeple University. Today we'll be teaching you how to play expeditions, including giving you some tips on some of the context and important things to look out for. This game is designed by Jamey Stegmaier and published by Stonemaier Games.
If you want to see the review of Expedition, we got you there. We'll link that in the description below. For now, let's get to the game.
Expeditions, a sequel to but distinct game from Scythe. Set in the same universe, each player will pilot a mech as they explore the wildernesses of Siberia, aim to collect and promote the best cards in their tableaus, vanquish corruption, and score glory, all in the aim of gaining the most money. The game end triggers once one player has 4 glory stars on the track, and whoever has the most money will win. To set up, take the base camp board and the 20 location tiles, split into south, central and north. Shuffle each pile face down. Then build a map in the shape shown here. The southern tile should be placed face up, and the central and northern tile should be placed face down with a map token on the back of each. Shuffle all of the purple-backed cards face down and then deal 1 face up into each of the 5 holes in the map. Be sure everyone's in a position to read the cards. There's a significant deck and hand building element to the game, and these face-up cards are your market from which you'll be building. Give each player a random mech board, each of them has its own unique ability, and give them the matching mech piece. Ours have been painted, and if you want to watch that, there's a link to the video in the description below. Choose a colour and attach the base ring, and then take the 4 matching glory stars and the 1 action cube in that colour. The action cube goes on the refresh space of your action track. Take a marker for each of the game's main resources, power and guile, and set them at 0. Take a random character card and place it to the left of your player board. Find the matching companion card. It will have the same icon and number in the top right corner, and also place it to the left of your board. Then keep all remaining resources nearby for use. This will include the 5 colours of workers, the money and the leftover map tokens in this tray which comes with the game, and all the orange and turquoise corruption markers which are mixed up in this cloth bag. The exception is this special 20-point marker. This is kept separate and has a specific use. Choose a first player and you're now ready to play. Expeditions is played in turns, starting from the first player and going clockwise around the table. On your turn, you'll move your action cube and then take some combination of the game's 4 main actions: move, play, gather, and refresh. First, a little bit of context about these actions. Move and gather relate to the actions you'll take with your mech on the main board. When you move, you'll move your mech around the map to a new space. And when you gather, you'll take the actions printed on your mech's current hex. Play and refresh relate to your card play and hand management. At any given time, you'll have a collection of cards to the left of your player board known as your hand, and a left to right row of cards on the right hand side of your board called your active row. When you play a card, you'll move a card from your hand to your active row, and usually try to activate it with a worker of its colour for maximum benefit. When you refresh, you retrieve all of your workers back to your player board and all of your active cards back to your hand. A lot of your powerful actions and combinations are going to come from utilising the actions on your cards. The actions you take on your turn depend on the location of your action cube, and at the start of the game it begins on the refresh space. On your first turn, you'll move it to this empty space and may then take 1 move, 1 play and 1 gather in any order. On your second turn, you must move the cube up to cover one of these 3 spaces, and then take the 2 visible actions, again in whichever order you wish. Once the cube is up here, on each subsequent turn you must move it to cover a different one of the actions, and again take the visible actions in any order. Also, on any turn where the cube begins in this upper box, you have the option to instead take a refresh turn, moving the cube back down to refresh and taking the refresh action. The sequence will start again from there. The aim of the game is to earn the most money. You won't be spending money during the game, just accumulating it, so think of these as victory points. You'll gain some of this through the game, but you'll gain a lot of it through these endgame scoring objectives, shown on the base camp board. Most money will come from tucking cards above, below, or to the right of your player board, vanquishing corruption tokens, or moving your glory markers to the base board's glory track by completing the depicted achievements. The game end is triggered once one player has placed all 4 glory stars, end of game money is given out, and whoever has the most money wins. So now let's go through the main actions in detail. The first action is move. When this is among your actions, it is mandatory to take it. And to move your mech a distance of between 1 and 3 hexes to a new destination. This prevents you from camping out on the same hex for more than a couple of turns in a row. For your very first move, your mech can be anywhere on the base camp board, meaning your first step could be to one of these 3 hexes. But thereafter, you cannot re-enter the base camp. You can move through a hex containing another player's mech, but cannot finish on the same space. If you enter a face-down hex, your movement ends and any excess movement points are lost. Gain that hex's map token to your player board. Then flip the new tile face up and seed this dashed box space with corruption tokens which you've drawn from the cloth bag. Draw these tokens one at a time, stacking them on top of each other until the sum of all tokens meets or exceeds the number showing here. The exception is at Tarkovsky's lair. Here you'll place the 20-point corruption marker set aside in setup. The second action is gather. When you gather, you gain the printed benefits on your mech's current hex. This could be a single benefit, or it could be multiple benefits which you may gain in any order. Some hexes give you a choice of benefits. Here you would gain either these 2 effects or this one. If there are corruption markers on your hex, then these do not represent a benefit which can be gathered. Right now, this purple worker effect is the only benefit which can be gathered from this hex. However, later on when these corruption markers are vanquished, a new benefit will be revealed. I will eventually take you through all of the gather rewards, but for now I'm just going to focus on some of the more basic ones. And these are particularly the simpler ones you'll be using nearer the start of the game. An action like this allows you to take one worker of the matching colour, gaining it from the supply if available, and adding it to your player board. If there are no workers left in the colour you need, you gain nothing. Each diagonal card icon gives you the opportunity to gain a new card into your control. With this yellow card icon, choose any one of the 5 face-up cards on the board. Anytime one of these spaces is empty, replenish it immediately. For the yellow card with the arrows, choose a face-up card that is adjacent to that hex, so in this case, one of these 2 cards. For the purple card icon, simply draw the top card from the deck. And for this icon, draw the top 2 cards from the deck, look at them, choose one to gain, and discard the other to the common sweep pile. Whichever card you gain, you must now place it face up on the end of your active row. This means you won't be able to play that card until you've refreshed it back to your hand. The broom action lets you sweep. Discard any number of face-up cards to the sweep pile and then replenish. These icons offer ways of gaining power or guile. Here you gain 2 guile, 2 power, or 1 of each. Move your marker or markers up on the relevant track. You can have a maximum of 10 of each and any excess is lost. Here you gain a map token. Take it from those remaining in the supply and add it to your player board. Here gain 1 or 2 coins and add it to your player board. Finally, for this part of the video, the hex with the arrows means you choose a single visible icon on one of the adjacent face-up hexes and resolve that. This would allow you to take 2 coins, or 1 guile, or one of these 2 icons, which we'll come back to later. For now, let's take a look at how to take the play action. When you play, choose 1 card from your hand on the left of your player board and move it to the end of your active row on the right of your player board. Doing this gives you 2 possible benefits, which you may take in either order. First is to claim the core value in either guile or power, which is printed in the top left of the card. For example, when you play Weaken the Leviathan, you would gain its core value, 1 power. Some cards' core values will conditionally increase. Olga, for example, has a core value of 1 guile at the start of the game. If you already have at least 1 star on the glory track, this increases to 2 guile. And if you have at least 2 stars on the glory track, the core value is 2 guile and a power. The second effect of playing a card is that if you have a matching coloured worker on your player board, you can move that worker to the card to activate its ability, which is the text at the bottom of the card. There are 4 types of cards indicated by the top right icon: your starter cards, meteorites, quests, and items. Activating an ability works the same way on starters, meteorites, and quests. Simply resolve the printed effect immediately. Only item cards work differently. Above the worker space is the immediate action that you'll resolve when activating. To the right of the worker space is a passive ability, and you'll have access to that passive ability on an ongoing basis as long as that card remains with a worker on it in your active row. The last of the 4 main actions is refresh, and you'll usually do this when you've run out of cards in hand or workers on your player board. To refresh, you'll simply retrieve all workers, putting them back onto your player board, and move all cards from your active row back to your hand. There are some gather actions relevant to playing and refreshing. This action gives you a play action. You can resolve it exactly as you would any normal turn's play. This gather effect lets you refresh. You'll do a full refresh, except that you won't move your cube to the refresh space. And this effect lets you rescue a card. You can think of this as being like refreshing a single card. Simply retrieve its worker and move it back to your hand from your active row, and then slide the rest to fill up any gaps. We'll now look at the 5 actions which are of most relevance to gaining money and winning the game. These are upgrade, meld, solve, vanquish, and boast. First is upgrade, indicated by this gather icon or a card which gives you an upgrade. This action allows you to gain money and permanent benefits from your item cards. When you upgrade, choose 1 item card from either your hand or active row. If it's from your active row, return any worker on it to your supply and close up any gaps left in your active row. Now slide your upgraded item under the right-hand side of your player board, obscuring the worker space and immediate action, and leaving only the ongoing passive effect. The passive effect is now permanently available to you, and you'll also gain the coins shown in the bottom right of the card as part of endgame scoring. Upgrades are permanent and you can perform at most 4 per game. Next is to meld a meteorite, indicated by this gather icon or the meld action. This relates to scoring your meteorite cards indicated by this icon in the top right. To meld, choose any 1 meteorite card from either your hand or active row, and again, retrieve any worker and squeeze up your active row if that's where you choose from. Slide the meteorite card sideways under the bottom of your board so that you can see only this meteorite scoring bonus. Immediately gain money according to the objective. Here it's $1 for each card in the active row. There was 1. You'll then also rescore this money for any meteorites you've previously melded. So suppose I had just melded this meteorite. I would immediately gain $1 for each of my 2 purple workers and another $1 for my 1 active card, a total of 3. Melds are permanent and you can meld at most 4 times per game, meaning that you could score this first meld 4 times across the game. Melding meteorites also makes your remaining meteorite cards more valuable to play. Their core values go up as long as you've melded 1 other meteorite, and their abilities are stronger once you've melded 2. Third is solve, and this action is only found on cards, not on any gather effect. This is how you score points out of your quest cards. When you solve, choose a quest card in your hand or active row. Once again, return any worker on that and squeeze up any gaps if appropriate. To solve a quest, your mech must be on the hex whose number matches that shown on the card. Now resolve the right-hand bar of the card. It will require you to spend some small amount of either guile or power, and then give you a reward. Here it would be to rescue a card. Finally, slide the card underneath your mech board. You may solve a maximum of 4 quests per game, and the number of quests you complete will determine the value of each of your stars at game's end. The next action is Vanquish. This is also only found on cards. There is no gather effect to Vanquish. To Vanquish, your mech must be on a hex with a stack of 1 or more corruption tokens. 1 at a time, you may now remove as many of these as you can from the top to the bottom by spending the matching amount of power or guile. Here I would spend 3 guile to take this 3 turquoise corruption, and 3 power to take this 3 orange corruption. I don't have enough guile to take the last corruption token, so my Vanquish would end there. Vanquishing moves the game along by gradually revealing the more powerful gather actions. And each corruption you hold will score you 2 points at game's end, regardless of its colour or printed value. To vanquish the special Tarkovsky's Lair corruption, you'll need a total of 20 power and guile, which, unless you have any other discounts or bonuses, means your maximum 10 of each. The last of the point scoring actions is to boast, indicated by the star. Take a star from your player board and place it on any space of the glory track whose condition you meet and where you don't already have a star. There are 7 possible spaces, which can be met by having solved 4 quests, having melded 4 meteorites, having upgraded 4 items, having vanquished the special Tarkovsky's Lair corruption marker, having vanquished 7 corruption markers excluding the 20, controlling a total of 8 cards, that counts only cards in your hand and active row, and finally having at least 7 workers between your player board or cards, or having at least 5 map tokens. Before we finish, there's a few more definitions on cards which we just need to go through quickly. If an ability refers to a face-up card, then that can be one of the 5 cards that's face-up on the map. In this case, it's a face-up meteorite, so you'd need to look specifically for a meteorite card. Card abilities may refer to adjacency, and this also relates to the map and the location of your mech. Here, gain a guile per adjacent revealed location would mean a guile for each of these locations. While here, money per adjacent face-up card would mean money for each of these cards. As we mentioned before, there will often be effects relating to cards you control. And these are cards in your hand or active row, but not any cards which are tucked under your board. If you resolved this meteorite, you would tuck this card under your board and then gain $1 per purple card you control, which would no longer include itself. And note that the colour of a card is the colour of the worker you would use to activate it. An active card is any card in your active row. An effect might refer to the previous card, and so if this card is in your active row, the previous card is the one to its left. An ability may let you discard a card. which means to move a card from your hand to the end of your active row without playing it. Finally, many cards will let you activate another card's ability. This one I just showed you would discard this card and then activate its ability. While with this gather effect, you can activate the ability of one adjacent card. In any such case, you resolve its ability without placing a worker. And if you activate an item, resolve its immediate ability and then gain the benefit of its ongoing passive ability until the end of this turn only. Note that this 1 times icon means you can only activate the card 1 time per round. This prevents you from forming an endless loop that you can exploit. The end of the game is triggered once one player has placed all 4 glory stars on the track. Each player, including the one who triggered the end, takes 1 more turn, and then you'll add up your final scores. From this space, players simply count any money they've collected through the game. From here, players count up the number of quests they've solved, and that determines how much money they earn for each of their stars. Red here has 4 quests and 4 stars for $40, while blue, with 3 stars and 2 quests, would gain 24. From here, players gain coins for each of their upgraded items based on what's printed in the bottom of the card. Finally, each corruption marker a player has vanquished, including the special 20 marker, scores $2. The player with the most money wins. If tied, whoever has the most combined resources in all of these categories breaks the tie, and if still tied, victory is shared. And that's how to play Expeditions. We hope you enjoyed this video.
And don't forget, if you want to see our video review of Expeditions, check out the link in the description. And last but not least, thank you so much for watching. Everything you do will help us, every single view, every time you like our videos, our Instagram, every single comment, and subscribe if you like, and let us know that you're there. And make sure you're doing something fun today. See you next time.